On today's episode, we are talking Miami Vice, Ghostbusters, Star Fox, and celebrating Father's Day on Deep Space Nine. All next on the original Jeek Podcast.
1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek Podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Yeah, making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is RockinMrMagic, and this is the original Jeek Podcast. I'm your host, the original Jeek, and man, I am excited for this episode. So to get started, let's jump right into our normal main intro segment. What are you PWC? What are you playing, watching, or creating? So, man, I haven't been playing anything new since the last episode last week, but I have done some different watching that kind of, I guess, a little unexpected. I will be doing a lot of watching of some Jackie Chan films. Received a Father's Day gift of volume 1 and 2 of the Jackie Chan collection. One is 1983 to 1993, and the other is, I forget the years, but it's like 1970 something to 1982. So a lot of really great films in there. Armor of God, 1 and 2, Wheels on Meals, and all sorts of other ones that I'm really looking forward to watching. I think there's a couple that I actually haven't seen yet. So that is very exciting. I rewatched, and I don't know if I'll do a deeper dive into it, but I rewatched a Bridget Fonda movie from the 90s, Point of No Return. I know it's gotten some flack. People said it's not that good. I haven't seen it since the 90s. So I gave it a rewatch, and it's not perfect. It's kind of like it's a different version of the Femme Nikita. But yeah, it's not as bad as I remember people making it out to be. People act like it's like a bad roastable, like terrible movie, and to keep it 100, it really wasn't a movie that could be really lauded that much in my opinion. It had some pacing issues, and I think the intro training portion was a bit long, but I think it's a better movie than a lot of people tend to give her credit for. I think Bridget Fonda did a great job in it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I've been watching a lot of retro, well, you would consider retro, yeah, but retro movies, a lot of 80s and 90s films. I also took some time to watch Batteries Not Included, which is a favorite of mine from childhood. Leonard Part 6, and started Cocoon, but I had to make myself go to bed. So really enjoying going back and watching some of these 80s and 90s films that, and some of them, like I said, I haven't seen since that time frame. And watching them now with, different experience, different eyes, is a lot of fun. Let's see. I was watching, playing is pretty much the same. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up. What are you PWC? Shout out! Oh, for also shout out to the Nick fans in the original Jeek Podcast, either Facebook group or Discord. Some of our more active members, Mike J in particular, um, as well as Aaron, Big Aaron. He and Mike both went to New York for the parade, as did my homie Big Ish of the Dad Is Not a Noun podcast. He also went to the city. He left. He got there and he said it was really packed and people were starting to wild out, so he bounced. And I can't blame him because I saw some crazy stuff on the internet from the parade. But shout out to the Knicks fans. Shout out to the Knicks team, the organization, everybody except James Dolan, because it's always screw James Dolan. All right, let's go into quick hits. And like last episode, going to endeavor to make these quick hits quick. All right, here we go. Starting with, we have a new Crockett and Tubbs. Yes, as in Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs. Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler will be starring in a Miami Vice reboot that's been officially confirmed with the title Miami Vice 85. It's a Universal film, and it's going to be from the F1 and Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski. It is scheduled to be released August 6th, 2027. So production on the film, which will be filmed for IMAX, which I don't know how necessary that is, but we'll see, is scheduled to start later this year, 2026. My question for you listeners, especially for those who, like me, grew up during the Miami Vice era and have a lot of nostalgia for it, can this refresh of the film using nostalgia be enough to make the movie a success? Because remember, this isn't the first time they've done a Miami Vice movie. Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell, gave it their best. And while to my recollection, I would have to look it up, but to my recollection, the movie wasn't a box office flop. But I don't know anybody that said it was a good movie either. So trying again, 10 plus years later, I don't know if this nostalgia is enough. I loved Miami. It was a time. Like, there's certain things that you can refresh and reboot, but there's something about that period of time, the location, the vibe that the decade had. I don't know if that magic can be recaptured, but it'll be interesting to see. And you've got talent behind it. Not that Farrell and Jamie Foxx aren't talented, but there is talent behind it and a good director. So it'll be interesting to see what different take they may use to bring a new audience and rekindle some Miami Vice hype. All right. Next quick hit. Dan Aykroyd is producing a new animated Ghostbusters series at Netflix. that also will arrive in 2027. This, I think, has a lot of potential. Obviously, Dan Aykroyd being very um, vital to Ghostbusters. He's the main driving force in keeping the franchise going, obviously, with the newer movies, um, being in them. He's been pivotal from day one. The most pivotal part of, obviously with acting and writing, and just being the main driving force behind Ghostbusters. And it's cool that Dan is not letting it sit. He's continuing to move forward with it. And I think it makes sense to do so. My question, because it's still so early in the process, my concern is that um, where when is the show going to be taking place? Um, because from article I read on this, it said that the show was supposed to be an expansion of the um, of Ghostbusters. So the thing is, are they going to try to get voice actors to kind of go maybe in between the 80s and the uh was it Afterlife? Yeah, between Ghostbusters 2 and Afterlife, and tell some stories of what happened in the 90s, early 2000s before this breakup of the Ghostbusters. Are they going to just go with animated and voice versions of the current Ghostbusters that we saw in Afterlife and Frozen? That was it, Frozen Kingdom, Frozen something. Um, so just a lot of questions as far as where the story is going to go. Um, being that Aykroyd is very active in it, my thought would be leaning more towards nostalgia because not to like Afterlife was a good movie. The second one, the Frozen whatever one, it was okay. Um, it wasn't as good as Afterlife, but it was okay. I I personally haven't heard um, a lot of people really excited for the descendants of Spangler and Friends to really continue the Ghostbuster mantle. Um, so my thought is that they may lean towards more on the nostalgia play and having different people, just voice actors, voice, Spangler and Winston and um, Venkman and uh, Stance. Yeah, those characters. That's probably my guess would be that's probably the direction they're going to go. Um, but but it remains to be seen. And with Netflix being a part of it, there's definitely going to be some money involved. Uh, it's definitely going to be well funded and have, I would imagine, have a significant marketing push to help drive and build interest in this new Ghostbusters animated series. The last question I have on this quick hit will be, who is this intended for, themed for? Is it going to be themed for children like the previous animated Ghostbusters were back in the day? Or because of the popularity of things like Stranger Things, is this going to be more um, young adult, young, yeah, young adult, young teen, older teen, young adult, 18 to 35 type theme where it may be a bit darker, a bit more language, maybe a little more, sexual situations. Not that that was missing in the original, with, yeah, certain scenes, but yeah, but Ghostbusters has been viewed as a children's property. Um, I'm just wondering, will that maintain, or are they going to skew for an older audience? Especially because if you're going on the nostalgia play, you're nostalgic. People that are nostalgic for Ghostbusters are in their late 30s at the youngest, and most of them are in their mid 40s to early 50s. So I would think with that audience, you might go a little older, a little more grown in your tone with this version of the Ghostbusters, but it remains to be seen. Will it be children's animation or adult animation? All right. Next quick hit. In the world of gaming, Star Fox returns to Nintendo on this week, June 25th. This is, especially for Nintendo gamers, Star Fox fans, this is really exciting. And just having this a couple of days away is super cool. So this is a true remake, but it's a ground up remake of the classic Star Fox 64. So if you're a fan of the game, if you played Star Fox 64, once again, you will be piloting in R-Wing over the skies of Corneria and other planets alongside old friends like Falco, Peppy, and Slippy. There are going to be level layouts that are familiar to you, or to anyone who's played Star Fox 64 or even watched streams of it. The game is receiving a complete, massive graphical overhaul. Yeah, that's the best word. An overhaul, because it is a remake. The game appears to remain an on-rails experience with some controls to boost the movement. Not just, I don't want to say movement, maneuvering, because it is moving, but it's more it's maneuvering. But boosting the craft, maneuvering, movement as well, as well as like boosting, braking. And of course, it's not Star Fox if you're not barrel rolling all over the place. That was such a great part of Star Fox 64, with just the flight controls were fantastic, especially for that time. There also reported that there will be sections of gameplay in the Land Master ground tank and the Blue Marine submarine are also going to be a part of this remake. Now, one thing about this remake that may be disappointing is that it is going to be exclusive to Switch 2 owners. Those of us like myself who still just have a regular Switch, unfortunately have to miss out on this. So with this, again, the Switch 2 mouse controls have been added for the Switch 2 users to give some added control in the gameplay. Also, two players can take control of the R-Wing by sharing a Joy-Con, with one controlling the R-Wing's movement while the other manning the ship's guns. So that is a really unique way to make it a two-player experience, especially if you're not the most adept at flying and shooting simultaneously, but someone's really good at flying and someone else is really good at shooting. Make the most of that is it's pretty cool. Also, because again, this is a remake, to help you enjoy a retro feel of Star Fox, you can use the Switch's N64 controller for your gameplay. Now, while the story of the game will be familiar to those who have played Star Fox 64, Nintendo says that they have added fresh cutscenes and added new story moments between characters to expand on the game's overall narrative. The campaign mode is going to feature an easy, normal, and hard mode. the ladder hard mode, removing the ability to continue on after a game over. There's also going to be a challenge mode that allows you to replay levels with new objectives that aren't found in the main campaign storyline. There's also going to be an expert difficulty for you veteran R-Wing pilots out there. Also, I'm sorry, I don't have all this in my head here. I've got to look at my notes a little bit. There's going to be a battle mode. So you're going to see in that battle mode, you going head-to-head against other players on Team Star Wolf via online battles, locally via game share, or online using game share via game chat. Within the battle mode, you can be on Corneria, where you'll be battling over his home control. The ice planet of Fachina, you're going to be collecting energy crystals and dodging meteorites. Deep space, like Sector Y, you're going to be collecting cargo. So a lot there in the battle mode. Since mentioned online play, there's a really cool ability within the online play to really kind of give you more of an immersion experience. So the ability that you're going to have is you can apply AR filters for any of the Star Fox team using game chat. So you can create your own Star Fox team banter with avatars for Fox, Slippy, and the rest of the gang. And then what's going to happen is those avatars will mirror your facial movements and expressions. So you are more like playing Star Fox, being Slippy. It's a more of an immersion experience. It's really cool taking advantage of that part of the technology. Again, which is another reason why Star Fox is going to be exclusive on Switch 2, because the Switch 1 wouldn't, unfortunately, be able to handle that. So that is my rundown on Star Fox coming out this week, June 25th for Switch 2. For you Nintendo cheeks out there, who's copping? I know I would be, especially if I had a Switch 2, definitely, because I love Star Fox, even though I am traditionally terrible at flight simulators and flight games. I am not good at them. I'll honestly say I've never been good at Star Fox. I've been average at best. Despite not being good at the game, Star Fox was always a ton of fun. Just a fantastic, fun time. And that's really unique for me, just personally, to have such a good time playing a style of game that I'm just not naturally inclined to be good at. So I'm sure I would get a ton of enjoyment out of Star Fox for Switch 2. If you're interested in getting it, I don't know if it's still going on. I did see, as of this recording, it was like a day or so. I did see recently, as of this recording, that Amazon had like $10 off the game, and it hasn't even dropped yet. So if you're interested in picking it up, definitely take a look at Amazon, see what their price is, because the game sounds like it's going to be absolutely amazing. Speaking of amazing, if you want a podcast amazingly, then your best choice is Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. It provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Zencastr records video up to 4K to give you a picture-perfect quality that your video podcast deserves. Zencastr will also distribute your video podcast in 1080p to all available video podcast players. Zencastr's post-production process takes the headache out of audio production. Set the right podcast loudness and levels, while reducing background noise with the click of a button. Ready to start? Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code JeekNation, JeekNation, and you will get 30% off your first 3 months of Zencastr Professional. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all of my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. All right, Jeeks, we are going to move into the main event, our main topic of the episode. And that topic is Ben Sisko, best father in the galaxy. So, if you don't know who Ben Sisko is the main character, captain, started off as commander, but captain in Starfleet, leads, commands the space station Deep Space Nine. And this main event topic is about how he is the best father in the galaxy. I've felt this way for a long time. I believe it's accurate. So what I did is I pretty much wrote out it's not a speech, but it's a breakdown. So similar to the breakdown I did a few episodes ago about the career of softball legend Lisa Fernandez, this is a similar breakdown of Ben Sisko and his relationship with his son Jeek, who was portrayed by Sirach Lofton on Deep Space Nine. Ben Sisko was portrayed by the great Avery Brooks, and their portrayal, the writing behind the characters was fantastic. And if you're not familiar with it, I hope this educates you and encourages you to go watch some Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Okay, so to start, here we go. So in a franchise that is full of legendary captains, Benjamin Sisko stands out for a reason that has nothing to do with starships or phasers. He might just be the best dad in TV history and the galaxy. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that goes way beyond those starships, space stations, battles, and all of the general Star Trek-y stuff. The breakdown is about fatherhood. And Jeek and Ben, the portrayal is so stark and fantastic from Deep Space Nine that it stands out compared to father-son or father-child depictions that you would have seen in other television shows or in or out of the sci-fi genre. Seeing a father with his children in sci-fi, it's not unique. I mean, we saw it in Lost in Space. We've seen it in Battlestar Galactica. It's not anywhere out of the ordinary to see parent-child in space. But what we have with Sisko and what's the Siskos with Ben and Jeek, it's unique. It stands out. And not only does it stand out within the genre, but it also stands out and is culturally very much because it is one of the most important depictions of Black fatherhood on television. Now, when you really sit back and think about it, Ben Sisko is such a complex character. He's not just a captain. And when I say not just a captain, he's a father And it's like, okay, that's redundant. Yes, but I want you to understand the meaning behind what I'm saying. So it's not that just he's a father, it's that Admiral Adama being a father in Battlestar Galactica was important, but a lot of it was secondary. It wasn't that important. You could have told Apollo could have not been his son, and not much different would have changed in how you tell the story. Um, the relationship between father and children in Lost in Space, it's there, but it's not always so important to the plot, not just to the plot, but it's not a it is it's a second yeah, it's very secondary. It's not stressed very well. It's not fleshed out very well. The relationship between Ben Sisko and Jake Sisko is very fleshed out, and it's very intentional. Okay. So it's not just a background story that's used every once in a while for like comedy's sake, um, or um, or stereotypical run of the mill drama. It is a very intentional um, part of the continuing narrative throughout Deep Space Nine. Um, so like you don't have the standard "I'm busy saving the galaxy" type thing, and then that's how they create, a cheap drama or cheap tension. Um, Ben Sisko is very unique and fantastic depiction because he was present in his son's life. He was loving. He was genuine and real. And Jake got the benefit of having a father who showed up for him emotionally and not just physically. So the level of humanity in Ben and Jake's relationship is part of what makes it so special and so palpable for the audience. It doesn't have that. I didn't mention, kind of touched on it previously. It doesn't have that made for TV setup generic feeling. It doesn't have the kid's going to be rebellious, and the story is it doesn't have that sitcom where the story is built around this tension between the rebellious kid and the busy dad that never gets resolved. And then doesn't get resolved in that sitcom way because they like to rinse and repeat it. With Ben and Jake, it's different. There's warmth there. It's visible. There's trust. There's genuine love, and there's a clear understanding that even when they disagree, their bond is solid. There's nothing. Nothing is coming between them. They are just at opposite sides of an opinion. And this matters significantly, especially when you think about Black fatherhood in media. Too often, Black dads are either missing, hardened by life, or only shown through struggle. Ben Sisko gives us something different. He's authoritative, yes, but he's nurturing. He's strong, but not emotionally cut off. He disciplines Jake, but he also listens to him. And especially as you watch Jake grow up on the show, the older Jake gets, the more Ben allows his son to have more input and listens to him more. And also, as Jake is growing and forging his path, Ben encourages Jake to forge and find his own path instead of putting him into his own mold of being a military man in Starfleet. And that's big. Jake doesn't just exist as quote unquote, the captain's son. He's not a plot device. He's an active and enriching character. Um, Jake Sisko gets to be his own person. He's a thoughtful, creative, and sensitive and insightful character. Jake Sisko wants to be a writer, and Ben, not just allows that, but he cultivates that passion within Jake Sisko, and it's a and because that he's not, um, because you look at him and like, oh, this is a military guy. He doesn't seem to have um, the sensitivity that you would expect for him to be okay with his son wanting to do something that is so different from him. But Deep Space Nine does an excellent job in showing how the Cisco men have been supportive throughout their generations. Where Ben's father, portrayed by Star Trek alum Brock Cartwright, was a restaurateur, and his son went into the military, and then Ben's son wants to be a writer. That type of generational support is another fantastic thing that is rarely portrayed, especially of Black fathers on television. That balance, that emotional support is amazing. So, like I said, a lot of times Black fatherhood is stereotypically portrayed, um, through things like absence. For example, Bill Thomas, the father of Roger and Dee Thomas in the sitcom What's Happening, he makes a few appearances, but it's evident that he doesn't stay. He's not there. The kids rarely see him. There is clear angst and distrust and upset feelings because of that, particularly from Dee's Dee's position as the younger child and the daughter. Then you also have the stereotypical portrayals of fathers in hardship, like James Evans from Good Times. Or there's the survival mode. And that's also portrayed with James Evans in Good Times due to the killing off of his character. Thankfully, Star Trek through Ben Sisko shows us another side, a side that's rooted in stability, affection, guidance, identity, and emotional depth. Ben's not perfect, and that's a great part of what makes him believable. But he's consistent. You can tell that he genuinely cares, and he makes the effort, and the effort truly matters. And not only does the character of Jake benefit from that effort, but we as the audience benefit from that effort. We get to see this father and son relationship that's portrayed with so much tenderness and dignity that it gave audiences something truly meaningful to connect with. It told the world, particularly at the time when this is airing in the mid-90s, that Black fatherhood can be gentle and powerful at the same time. It can be loving and present and aspirational without feeling disingenuous. And also, one thing I'll mention is that Ben was a single father. His wife, Jake's mother, had been killed during an attack from the Borg that was led by Jean-Luc Picard from Next Generation while he was assimilated by the Borg as a Kudus. So Ben is doing all of these things without the support of his wife to temper him. Um, and that's important because a lot of times, and not that it's not reality, because a lot of times that is reality where a father may not instinctively want to reach out with understanding or patience or the quote unquote soft feelings that people have, and those are naturally prescribed towards women. And so a lot of television shows will have the wife say to the husband, hey, maybe you should reach out and talk to him this way, be a little more gentle, be a little more understanding. And the husband either chooses to listen and do so, or he ignores it and does whatever he decides to do. Ben Sisko does not have his wife there to be a sounding board, to be the assistance in raising Jake. He has to do it on his own. So it was really a very stark example, because not only is he able to do this, but he's doing it on his own. So then I want to mention a particular episode that is a great example of this. And if you haven't seen the episode, I definitely recommend watching it. I'm going to give a couple other episodes to watch. And I would actually say, if you're going to watch, I would watch one of the other two ones first to set the table for this episode. But this episode is called The Visitor, and it is really a very poignant episode and depicting the relationship between Ben and Jake. And without kind of spoiling and going too deep into the episode, within the episode, there's a whole thing that becomes devastating in the best way. The episode works because the audience is coming into this episode already understanding how deep Ben and Jake love each other. And the emotional impact of the episode lands hard because the writers of Deep Space Nine invested time and effort building up the bond through the other previous episodes, and brick by brick they established a house that you can build such a weighty and emotional episode on. And that's one thing I have to give a major shout out to the writers of Star Trek DS9, is that they did not rush the building of this relationship. They didn't treat it like a cheap filler plot device. It was intentional, it was thought out, and it was laid out fantastically. It wasn't treated like a side note. It was treated like they used it as a central part, because the relationship with Jake was so much a central part to Ben Sisko as a character. It would have hurt the show, the character and the show ultimately, if the relationship between Ben and Jake was not given this level of respect and attention to detail. So within the episode, when the story asks us to imagine what life could look like without that connection between Ben and Jake, you get it. And if you're deeply emotional, you probably felt some of the hurt that they were portraying in the episode, because we know exactly what's being lost, because the show did such a great job at establishing it. So that's great writing, and it's also great representation, because that's the kind of storytelling that turns a good television relationship into an iconic one. So The Visitor, again, without going too deep into it, it hits really hard. It's a great illustration of Ben and Jake. It's more than a sad time travel story. It is proof of the level of depth that the bond between father and son, between Ben and Jeek, truly is. I don't think this is going to be too much of a spoiler, so I'll say Jake's life in the episode is shaped to try to bring his father back. Yet, when they reunite, his father expresses that it's okay if he lets him go, and the love that they share, it makes the episode so powerful because of how much they meant to each other. And Ben meant so much to Jeek that he risks everything to get his father back. And Ben loves his son so much that he is okay with his son letting him go so he can live his life. It's a fantastic emotional center to the story. So when people talk about the best father-son relationships on TV, there are some that definitely deserve to be mentioned. And I'm not knocking any of those. Cliff and Theo Huxtable, Phil Banks, Carlton Banks, and Will Smith. I forget the name of the dad, but the father and sons in My Three Sons. Walt and Beeve. There's been classic father-son relationships on television, but nothing has been like Ben and Jeek Sisko. If you're being objective and honest, they've got to be in that conversation. Because again, they're not just one of the best relationships in Star Trek. They're one of the best examples of fatherhood, particularly Black fatherhood, in television history. And that is the legacy of Ben Sisko as a character. He did more than just command a space center, space station. Not that he just stood tall during war and chaos, multiple warring political governments constantly coming to a head at his location, dealing with this outright battles, espionage, all types of things surrounding him. But despite all that chaos around him, he took time to invest into his son. He raised his son with love, trust, and room to grow. And that's undeniably powerful. Powerful and memorable. It is some of the best memories of a Trekkie can have. And it is one of the things that makes Star Trek DS9 such a unique view compared to all the other Trek shows in the franchise. Ben Sisko wasn't just a great captain, he was a great dad. And I hope that this breakdown has been proof of that for you. So, to close out this episode of the original Jeek Podcast, I'm going to recommend 2 episodes to check out of Star Trek DS9 prior to The Visitor. One, I recommend watching DS9 because it's fantastic television. So the 2 episodes that I'm going to mention, I'm going to recommend here to you are, one's very early. It's called Emissary. It's I believe it's the pilot, if my memory serves me correctly. But in it, it's going to introduce Ben Sisko to you, explain the whole widower portion I mentioned previously, and obviously establishing who he is as a father. The other episode, it's one of my favorites because it's very Jeek and Ben heavy. It's called Explorers, and Ben and Jeek essentially do a project together and spend a lot of time where it's just the two of them. They're off the space station, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the episode because it's really good. But essentially, father and son do a project and it turns into an adventure. And then, of course, The Visitor, fantastic episode where, again, we've got Avery Brooks and Ciroc Lofton in their roles, but also Tony Todd portrays an adult version of Jake Sisko, and he knocks it out of the park. It's fantastic performance. So check out Emissary, check out Explorers, and then after those two episodes, watch The Visitor. And I would love to hear especially after watching those, what you listeners think of the Ben and Jake Sisko relationship, and Ben Sisko specifically as a father portrayal in television. And do you rank him as high as I do? Because I personally can't think of a better father on television than Ben Sisko. He's my number one. I would love to hear who yours is and why you think he would be better than Ben Sisko. That's going to conclude this episode of the original Jeek Podcast that we have made to bless your earballs. Again, I'm your host, the original Jeek, RockinMrMagic. And I want to thank you for listening, because we could not do this show alone, not without you who continue to press play, share, comment, recommend on your podcasting app of choice. We thank you so much for that. If you're listening to this and you don't have a podcasting app of choice that you regularly listen to, we encourage you to pick one and engage. You can find us on almost everyone, but we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, Castbox, one of our personal favorites, Good Pods. We like those a lot because you can interact with us. You can leave reviews, obviously, on Apple, but Spotify and Good Pods, you can not only rank and like shows and share, but you can also engage with us by leaving comments. There's polls that we post within the episodes, and we would love to have feedback and interaction from you. And it helps other Jeeks who may also want to listen and don't know about us find us. The more you interact, the more people are going to be able to see that you enjoy engaging with us. And if you'd like to engage more, definitely check us out. We, Jeek Nation, have a Facebook group and a Discord. You can jump on either one of those or both. There are links in the show notes. Or you can just search Jeek Nation and come hang out. If you can't find us, let us know. Email us at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, clap for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek Podcast.